Hey guys, what's up? And this is a follow-up video. So if you haven't seen the previous video, I would like to suggest you to start from there because
then you would be very much be in context with
whatever is going on over here. And if you would like to join over here, it's also fine. So let me just give you a briefing. What we did in last video, we had defined a stateless widget with a counter, and we had the value of counter over here is hard coded. Just a second. We had the value of counter over here hard coded, and we had these three floating action button defined over here. I'm sorry. Okay, let's remove it. Yeah, we had these three floating action button defined over here, and we were trying to figure out a way to make these three floating action button work by incrementing, decrementing, and resetting the counter. So let's see what we can do. So before I explain you the stateful widget, I would like you to go to the Dartpad and I would like you to explain something over there. Dartpad is a tool which can be used as an ID for Dart. Just a second. Yep, over here. Yeah, so this is Dartpad, and what we are gonna do is we are gonna write a code for something, and I'll explain it to you likewise. So the code, the problem for which we are gonna write a code is that you have two baskets and you have two types of fruits. Let's say apple and mangoes. And what you want to do is whenever you put a fruit in a basket, it should not go in the basket of another fruit. What I mean to say is both the baskets have been defined. That means each of the basket have a label with this is the apple basket and this is the mango basket. You cannot put a apple in the mango basket and you cannot put a mango in an apple basket. So we have to write a code for that. So very first thing we are going to do is create a class called apple. Okay, I'm sorry, not like that. Yeah, and then create a class mango. Okay, and now let's create a class of basket. So most of you would suggest that let's make two different classes for baskets named as something like apple basket and mango basket. So no, we are not going to do it that way. What we are going to do over here is that we are going to use something called as generics in Flutter. So Flutter provides us with something called as generics to deal with this kind of situations. So just look at the code what I'm gonna write right now, and I'm gonna add a method add yep. So yeah, so what I've written over here is just a second. Yeah, the error has gone. I'm saying this basket that for whatever the fruit you have been defined for, this method add should only be accessible by that particular fruit. So let's see how does this works. So let's first define the main method. So it's main. Yep. And in this, let's make a basket first. So let's make an object of a basket. How do we make an object of a class? It's pretty simple. Let's make an apple basket. and let's just look at what I'm going to write right now. Yeah, what's the error? Let's see, the value of local variable. Okay, sorry, that's now. Yeah, yeah, it disappeared. And now with this apple basket, if I try to add an apple in the add function, an object of type apple, then it will run without any error. Yeah, you got no error on the console. And just in case, if I give mango over here, I get an error. Just keep an eye on console. It says that mango isn't a subtype of apple. So what we have done over here is to tell this basket, apple basket, that no one should be able to put a mango inside you. So no one should be able to put a mango. And how do we do that? We did that by saying this, that with whatever the type you have been declared, that should be only be able to access your this add function. Just keep an eye on things and we'll come back to this part again. So this is our code, and I've got a few steps to convert a stateless class into a stateful class. So these are the 4 steps which we'll follow to convert a stateless class into a stateful class. So the very first step is to break the class into 2. And we already know that a stateful class is defined in a couple, and one of them is a state class and another is a widget class. So just follow along with me. I'll explain all this in a while. App extends stateful widget. Yep. Okay, so we have got 2 different classes over here. So we need to change the name of another one. So this one with the build function is our state class, and another one is the widget class. We have got a red line over here. It will be solved in a minute. Please follow along. So let's see another step. It says add a create state method. So let's add a create state method to this class. Create state method is to be added in the widget class always. So it goes like app state create state, and it returns app state. We have got some error over here. Let's see what is it. Oh yeah, so this is where the issue is. It's a typing error. So let's now see what does it say. It says that create state is not a valid override of stateful widget create state. So what we need to do over here is state and we need to add app. So just follow along for a while. I'll explain it in a moment, just in a moment. So all your errors have gone, and let's see another step. It's to add a build method, which we have already added. The next step is to complete data and functions. So we have our data over here. The counter is already here. All we need to do is now assign some functions to these onPressed button onPressed properties of floating action button. So let's first define some functions. Let's define an increment function, and what it will do is see counter plus plus, but we cannot just directly do it. What we need to do is to call a method which has been predefined in state class, which has been extended by our appState class. This method setState has been defined in this state class over here. When we'll see its declaration, and this is a big code, so I'm not going to go through it, but it's definitely somewhere over here. So neither do we have time for it. Yeah, so let's skip, but yeah, it has been defined in somewhere in this class only. So setState method takes input of a function. So yeah, this is how it can be done. And counter plus plus, perfect. Some issue over here that we need to add a we need to add a semicolon, and similarly we are gonna define our decrement function and a reset function. So let's just change it. Yeah, so it's decrement, and what it is gonna do is subtract it, and this. So now let's understand what is happening over here. So what we will be doing is we'll be calling these functions from their respective floating action buttons, and these functions will in turn be invoking the setState method, and this setState method will re-render and rebuild the whole widget. And when they'll rebuild the whole widget, they'll find the counter value to be incremented by 1 or decremented by 1, or in the reset function we need to set the counter value to 0. Yeah, so when it will rebuild the whole widget, the counter value will be reset to 0 or decremented by 1 or incremented by 1. So now all we need to do is just give the functions decrement, not like, yeah, like this, and reset and increment. I gave it a wrong one, just a second, and this one should be decrement, and the another one should be reset, and this one should be increment. So let's now save our code and rebuild our widget, and let's see what happens now. Let's restart the app, and let's open my emulator. I guess it has restarted, and let's now tap on this. Yeah, it increments. Let's now decrement. Yeah, it decrements, and let's now reset. You're perfect. So we have successfully built this widget, and I hope you have understood. And now I would like to take this particular part of the code. So what does this means? The same way over here on the dart pad, we saw that when we passed in a mango over here, we got some error that a mango is not an apple, so you cannot put it in the apple basket. And how did this apple basket know? because we passed apple over here, and this function is required to take the same input which has been passed to it over here to the class. So the same way over here you can see some similarity, I guess. I hope it's visible. This state app this state class which has been extended by our app state class, it has been told that nothing else should be able to re-render this whole widget except this method or this class, the exact same way it happened over here. And why, you will ask, why is it necessary? Now let's suppose that we had this app over here, and let's suppose that this is not a stateful widget, instead it's a stateless widget. So what would happen is, when you press an increment button, for the very first time a widget has been re-rendered and incremented. It will work perfectly. For the next second time, when I incremented from here again, if it would have been a stateless widget, this wouldn't have been rebuilt. Instead, this particular state would have been thrown away, and a new state would have been re-rendered with the counter value 0. So what would have happened is, so when you increment it, it works perfect, and when you again incremented it, so stateful widget has re-rendered the same state, but the stateless widget would have created a new state instead of re-rendering the same state. I hope that's very clear, and if not, please let me know in the comment box, and I'll definitely create another video if you weren't able to understand in this one, and it will totally be focusing upon stateful widgets and why is it necessary to have and how do it works, stateful widget tree. We are going to cover all those topics. If you want that video, please let me know in the comment box. So we have successfully made our app over here and it's working perfectly. So we are done with our project. So see you people, goodbye, and see you in the next video.